What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Shoes Off podcast. I'm your host, Seth, and this is your co-host, or my co-host, Osman. And today, our next guest is Tom Stefaniuk, sneaker YouTuber turned entrepreneur who runs an incredibly successful talent marketing agency called Small Screen. In today's episode, we get to talk to him about how he got to where he is, how sneaker YouTube worked out for him, and why he stopped doing it, and where he's been, because that's something that a lot of people have been asking. That being said, make sure to subscribe to the Shoes Off Podcast on YouTube at the Shoes Off Podcast, and also follow us on all major podcasting platforms. And make sure to check us out on Core, and you can redeem your first Core badge for the Shoes Off Podcast through the link in the top of the description below and join our community. With that being said, let's get into today's episode. Well, Mr. Tom Stefaniuk, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
This is great. All the way down from New York City.
All the way down. Hour and 20 minutes on the Amtrak.
Let's go. He made some big moves for us today. I really appreciate it.
I really did. Carved out my entire day. Seeing a Sixers game later today, which I don't know if that's entertainment or punishment these days, but
you crossed two states.
Yeah, exactly. You did.
I did.
And technically another country, because you're from Canada originally.
This is true.
So, you know, it's been a trek. It's been a journey to get to where you are today, and I want to sort of start out with the big question that everyone's wondering if they've been into sneaker YouTube at all, which I'm assuming you are if you're watching this podcast. Where have you been?
Where have I been?
Where have you been?
You want like the whole story?
I would like a rundown of where the F you've been.
Where the F I've been. Okay, so for you guys that don't know, I made YouTube videos for years. Starting in 2013 was, I won't say like the first wave of sneaker YouTube, but probably the first commercially successful wave of sneaker YouTube. When I started, there was guys with like 12,000 subscribers, and then
you had like Franelations.
Franelations, Yo Anti was doing it, Nightwing was doing it, Jumpman Bostic, Hess Kicks, and lots of those guys are still going. But they all grew during the time that I and a bunch of other people were making sneaker YouTube. So I haven't uploaded a video in over 3 years.
I remember your last video. It was goodbye.
Lots of people, I mean, even sometimes I'm walking down the street and people ask me like, what are you doing? Where'd you go? When are you coming back to YouTube? So, I mean, long story short, YouTube's not a forever career.
Fair enough.
You know, some people are able to do it for a long time, 15 years, but I mean, it hasn't been around for 40 years, but I highly doubt anyone's going to be a YouTuber for 40 years. Yeah. Outside of like complete edge case scenarios like Mr. Beast, who have just developed a huge empire. So I was always cognizant that, okay, this is great right now, but it's not going to be a forever career. So I was always thinking of, what can I do next? What's the next thing I want to do? I've always loved business and wanted to do something a little bit more scalable outside of myself. Because YouTube, at the end of the day, if I don't make a video, there's no video, right? Like, I am the product, and I am the one pulling all the strings and making sure everything happens. I can't go on a vacation and still have videos go up. So I was always looking for that next thing. And in 2020, I started my company, Small Screen, which is an influencer management company. And was still making videos a little bit during that time. Just as we were getting started, it was only myself and Owen, our first hire. And then it started to take off, and we started to get traction and sign clients and hire more people. And it just became logistically implausible to continue doing both. And I was also pretty burnt out from making YouTube videos. So it's now been over 3 years since I've been making YouTube videos. And I've just been busy working away at Small Screen. We have a team in New York. We have a team in Canada. We're really lucky to manage over 330 awesome influencers. And just make sure that we're handling the business side of things as well as possible for them, so they can focus on the creative side of things.
That's awesome. I'm one of your influencers.
You are.
Yeah, let's go. He brings me all my sponsorships. It's great. So the theory that you are either dead or you've completely burned out and you just are living in a shack somewhere in Canada, or that you just disappeared. None of those are true.
None of those are true. It is really funny. The internet. I came back to YouTube a couple months ago.
I did see that.
And I'm hoping to do more of that. I started a new channel. I'm sure these fine gentlemen are going to link it if you guys would like to see it.
Or in the show notes on Spotify, Instagram.
I started a new channel explaining where I was for the last 3 years, and put up another video of what I've been doing with Small Screen. And it's going to be more business stuff on that channel. It's not going to be sneakers, but 99% of the people on it, super positive, great people, happy to see you back. But speaking of being in a shack in the woods in Canada, it is really funny. There's a certain side of the internet that just loves to see people fail.
Yes.
The first comment I got, literally the first comment on my YouTube video, return to YouTube, is, wow, someone ran out of money.
I mean, that is a thought that like crosses people's mind. Like, there's channels that I've watched where like, and there's a couple friends of mine who have stopped channels. Like you're one of my best friends, and so I know what your journey's been. But people like Bryson, who was Untied Hawaii, who stopped because
he has a great job.
He has a great job. He works. I don't know if I can say where he works, but he works. So he probably can. Doesn't matter. He works somewhere great, and he has a family, and he's just doing his own thing. And he's kind of just done with YouTube, and he's probably more successful now than he was in YouTube, and that's absolutely the case for you. So it's interesting seeing how people immediately like doom think. They're like, okay, well, it must be something terrible. And I know people that probably should have kept up with their YouTube career, but I would say a vast majority of people who have stopped for a good reason and are far more successful than they were on YouTube. Maybe not far more, in your case, far more, but for some people, definitely more successful or happier than they were on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. Like YouTube is a great tool to build an audience and get a springboard into things like you guys have done here, right? Like APTHCRY, I think now is a brand of its own, but probably the initial boost of momentum came from having a YouTube channel that you could promote it to.
Totally.
And the people that are smart do that. And many of our friends and colleagues that we've met through making YouTube videos have done that and transferred it to products. Or I think our friend Blake Wynn is an excellent example, right? He did something kind of similar to what I did. Is he took his audience and what he'd learned through social media and switched that into a marketing agency where he's working with some multinational brands, kind of on the opposite side of what we do. We actually do some work with his agency from time to time.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And the smart people have done that, have transferred their audience into something bigger. And it's funny how the public perception is sometimes the opposite of, oh, you must have fallen off. When in actuality, they've leveled up.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's so interesting to see that happen from sort of behind the scenes and seeing where you've come from and where you go. And just to give people some background on how we met initially, and I want to get it from your point of view, but
I'll give it to you from my point of view.
Well, so I was watching sneaker YouTube back in like 2013 is probably when I started, and I saw you, and I was watching you. I was watching Sneaker Talk. I was watching Yo Auntie. I was watching Nightwing. Everybody, Hess Kicks, and you were one of the people that I really wanted to meet. And so in SneakerCon 2016, when all the YouTubers were brought out, I wanted to specifically meet you. And so, well, you could tell this part of the story, but for me, like, it was really cool to be able to start off as someone who just wasn't part of the community at all in terms of the YouTube community, and then slowly you literally brought me in, introduced me to everybody.
I was going to say, can I take credit for it?
You can absolutely take credit for it. Yeah. Well, actually, let me give kudos where kudos are necessary. Osman's the one who brought me mainly into the sneaker community, and you're the one who brought me into the sneaker YouTube community.
Okay.
So I'm right here with the two people who sort of brought me to where I am. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
But
yeah, so the way I met Seth, he does not remember the story this way, but I was going to my first SneakerCon. SneakerCon had invited me out. This is November 2016, which is that's a long time ago now. That's crazy. But this is November 2016. I was flying out to New York by myself in New York for, I think this is the first solo trip I had taken.
Oh wow!
As a 20-year-old,
wow.
And like it wasn't solo totally because like all the other YouTubers showed up, but I think I got there 2 days before everyone else, and this guy kept on tweeting me like, hey man, I see you're going to be at SneakerCon New York. Like, I'd love to meet you. And there was no face. It was just this SF logo because you were Fowler Customs at the time. So it might have been an FC logo. It was an FC logo. Yep. You were Fowler Customs. And I don't know, just you tweeted me several times, like probably 5 times. I think you DM'd me.
I'm sure.
I assumed it was a 12-year-old kid. So I was like, yeah, there's some 12-year-old that keeps tweeting me that wants to meet me at SneakerCon. I don't think I replied or acknowledged any of the tweets.
I think you did reply to one.
Okay, maybe I replied to one.
Because I remember specifically looking for you. It doesn't matter. Yes.
And so then SneakerCon was a 2-day thing. I remember near the tail end of the second day, I'm walking around looking at the booths, maybe filming some content, and I catch this FC logo out of the corner of my eye on our table. Because right? You were selling your Fowler Custom shirts.
I think you might have been at that one. Yeah, I think Osman was there too, actually.
And I was like, oh, you're the guy. Yeah. It's like, you're the guy that's been tweeting me. And Seth's a great guy. He's one of the nicest people I know. So we hit it off immediately. And then I don't know if I got your number or I just would have followed you back on Twitter.
You did, because you texted me the next day when I was at work, which was I was working at BarkBox at the time, and you're like, hey, you want to come sneaker shopping with me and some guys? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah,
like, that sounds amazing.
I remember you texting me, be like, yo, you know that guy I just met yesterday? He's inviting me sneaker shopping.
Yeah, and then it was like me, Foamer, Buckets, Bullet RC, Tony,
Cousteau.
Yep. There were even a couple other guys. Brandon,
yep.
David was probably there as well. D-Money.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were just walking around Soho. Those are the days, dude. All those stores are shut down.
I know.
All those stores we used to go to in Soho.
It's really
I walked through there. Stadium Goods is shut down.
Nike.
21 Mercer is shut down.
Yep.
lots of the consignment stores, like Round 2 is shut down.
That sucks. That one sucked.
Yeah. It's a different day and age. Like
It
you
really
walk around Soho, you watch, for 5 minutes, you're probably going to see 1 or 2 Jordans or Yeezys.
I know. Yeah.
Everyone's wearing New Balance,
A6.
runners,
Yep.
clogs,
Yep.
loafers. Like no one's wearing the sneakers anymore.
It's true, man, and I think it's for good reason. I think there's the hype isn't there for a lot of people, and also the other shoes are more comfortable.
They are.
Like Jordans just aren't
They
comfy.
are.
Like they're just not.
So I need to give a thank you to It's Teddy, formerly known as the artist
Yes.
Boost God.
Boost God.
Because
Let's go.
Teddy's got probably 12 or 15 years on me.
Yes.
And me as a blissfully ignorant 20, 21-year-old, I'd be walking
Oh my
around
gosh,
in
I
my
remember
Jordan
this.
1s all
Yeah,
day.
I remember
like
this
putting in
exact
40,000 steps in my Jordan 1s. And we'd go to these sneaker cons all the time. So you'd have these friends that you'd only see in a convention center, but you'd see them twice a month.
Right.
So you'd get like a ongoing conversation with them. And every time I saw him, he'd be like, dude, give it 10 years. You're not going to think those things are comfortable anymore.
Shout out
And
to
he was right.
Oh my
I do not think
gosh.
they're comfortable anymore.
That's amazing. What are you wearing right now? I actually take a peek.
I got on, these are from Greats, which is
Oh,
a
Greats
company in
brand.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
They've been nice enough to send me some shoes over the
Wow,
years.
very nice.
These are my go-to now. I bought these ones.
Cool.
But it's just like really simple Italian leather shoes.
Very nice.
Nothing crazy. They're kind of like Common Project style,
Right.
but
A
for
little
a
bit Stan
third the
Smith
price.
vibe.
And
Yeah.
just versatile leather shoes. I need to buy a new pair. These ones are kind of beat.
Great.
But that's what I wear 8 times out of 10 if you catch me walking around.
What was
Right.
the last like sneaker you wore?
The last sneaker I wore, some New Balance. You're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but the 9060s
Oh, yep.
with kind of
9060s.
like a shiny heel cage and like some like a shiny plastic heel
Maybe
cage
the
and like
19
some silver toe mud guard.
It was probably the 1906Rs then, because the 9060s
yeah,
are the
yeah,
bulky
yeah.
ones.
Yeah,
Okay,
the six,
gotcha.
there's an R after it.
Yes.
Okay, so those are the ones. I bought those recently. Went to New Zealand. Needed
Nice.
a pair of shoes I could just like muck around in and go for some hikes in. So I got
Right.
that.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Really comfortable shoe.
Yeah, great shoe.
But the last sneaker I bought for like fashion purposes, geez,
was it the New Balance 550s?
it was probably the New Balance. No. It was the New
No.
Balance.
Yeah, I
What's
remember.
the other running shoes with the chunky midsoles? Is that the 96?
It might be the 9060s have like that really chunky like modern midsole. with
Okay,
the overlook
yeah,
at
I
the
think
top.
that's it. Yeah,
They're great. I love
those are the
those
last
too.
ones I bought for like personal style use,
Wow.
and that was coming up on 2 years probably.
Wow.
What do you think of the current state of sneakers?
Um,
Not being in it like Seth. Like,
it's
just
it's
seeing-
interesting, like because I used to be on sneakernews.com seeing like, okay, what are the releases 3 months from now? Like
Yep.
I check that religiously. I had it bookmarked.
Yeah.
And
same.
I'd be at
still
releases
do.
every single weekend from 2013 up until the beginning of 2021. Every
Right.
single weekend, I was in a sneaker store 5 times a week,
Yes.
and then I just dropped off the face of the earth.
Right.
Like I didn't taper my sneaker consumption. It stopped. Because I think I talked about this in my YouTube videos I posted, but probably the last year and a half of me making videos, I didn't enjoy it.
Right.
Like I wasn't doing it because I loved going to sneaker stores. It was
Right.
my job and I felt obligated to. So
Totally.
I kind of just purged myself from the world. So not being in it as much, it's cool. Like I have friends that are like dads with kids that know more about shoes than me because they see what shoes people are wearing
That's
at their
me.
kids' basketball games.
Oh, okay. That's not me yet.
That's not you yet.
I just.
But it will be in like
It
4
will
years.
be. Also, yeah. I also basically have the mind of a child, and I still look at sneakers.
Exactly.
constantly.
Like I think they're
Yes.
cool.
Yeah, fair
Like
enough.
when the breads came out, I was like, oh, nice. I
Oh,
didn't
the ones
get
that
a
I'm rocking
pair.
right now, the Bread 85s.
The ones you're rocking right
Oh,
now.
these are your favorite shoes of all time, like mine, right?
Yeah, those
Okay,
are my
there you
favorites.
go.
I still have a brand new pair of the 2016s though, so like
Very
it
nice.
wasn't motivated when the black toes came out.
Yes.
I was
The
like,
recent
cool.
ones?
Yeah, the recent ones. But I still have like a pretty good condition 2014 pair,
Right.
so no need to get them.
Right.
And
And they have the wings on them, whereas the new ones have the Nike Air or the Air Jordan.
Air
on the
Jordan.
side.
oh, the new ones have the Air Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like
Not-
the photo. Yeah.
That's
not-
bullshit. I don't know
yeah,
if we're
it's
allowed
not
to
good.
swear on the
Yeah, you can do
on the
it.
podcast. But
Yeah, no, I agree. It's I like the history of it. Not to get into sneakers. Let's just say some people like it, some people don't.
I saw a video on Instagram yesterday. Someone like acetoned it off and like sprayed the
Oh,
Wings
really?
logo.
oh, they just got like a
Nice.
yeah, like a stencil.
yeah.
That's awesome.
I like that. That's the way to go.
Well, so obviously you're not as deep into sneakers anymore, and I
Not
don't
at
want to
all.
go too deep into sneakers because that's something that you're not even interested in anymore. But I do want to ask you how your YouTube career started. Like
Yeah.
what got you into YouTube, and then what kept you going through YouTube through that period from what 2013 to 2020.
So I think my story is probably very similar to if you ask anyone who got started around that time. it's very interesting now because, like I said, we work with over 330 clients, and obviously, clients come and go. So we've worked with over 400 creators over the course of small screen existing. And you hear the reasons people started now, and it's definitely different because they know there's a viable industry here. They know they can start a job from it. And that's not bad at all.
Right.
It's great to see people that are able to make a fantastic living off of it. But when I started, and I think anyone else that started around that period of time. Yeah, you could make money from it, but not like you can now.
Right. Yeah,
so it was
true.
really because you were passionate about it.
Yes.
So the exact reason I started it was there was these, I think it was Thursday night live streams of Yo Auntie and T Blake.
Oh my gosh.
And Eddie Wynn and
awesome.
A bunch of guys that
Boston boys.
Jason Donner from Indianapolis. Shout out Jason Donner.
Very nice.
That were all on these like sneaker live streams where you just get on a Google Meet and you could broadcast your Google Meet onto YouTube at the time, which I highly doubt you can still do now.
No problem.
But I was enamored. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Because I was just like a 16-year-old kid that loved shoes, loved basketball. And here was this group of guys that knew a lot more about it than I did that were just talking about it and hanging out every single week.
Right. Oh my gosh. That's
so I wanted to be on those group chats.
Right.
But the only way you could do that is if you were making content. And like the bar to enter these group chats was very low. Like Jason Donner, I think, had like 1,200 subscribers.
Okay.
So I was like, I want to do that.
Right.
So April, we're actually coming up on the 12-year anniversary of making YouTube videos. April 11th, I think it was, 2013. I got a new pair of shoes. It was just a white pair of Air Max 90s with like some navy accents on them.
Oh, yep.
Just for like a regular, wear around every day spring shoe.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? This is going to be the day. I have a new pair of shoes. I'm going to make a YouTube video on them.
Nice.
So I pulled out, I had this Samsung flip phone that was like about this big.
Let's go.
And then you'd turn it sideways and push the screen up and there's a keyboard under it. And that's what I filmed my first video on.
Wow.
And I didn't know how to video edit.
Okay.
So it was all in one take.
Very nice. Very nice.
For some reason, I thought my mom would be mad if she knew I had recorded a YouTube video. So I did it in the corner of my basement and I talked really quiet.
I think I remember this video.
It's still on YouTube. You guys can go watch it if you want. It's awful. It's really awful.
Everyone's first videos are rough,
but I posted it and then I checked the next morning and it had like 7 views.
That's amazing.
Which is, I was like, how did 7 people find this already?
Yeah, that's amazing.
And so the next week I put up another one, and the next week I put up another one.
Was it on the same shoe, or were you buying?
No, it was different. I wasn't buying new shoes. I already had maybe about 10 pairs of shoes at the time.
Okay.
So I was like reviewing shoes that I already had.
Right.
And then I would do like an on foot video for a shoe that I already had, and I didn't have money to like buy shoes for reviews. Like Seth's pumping like $5,000 in every single episode he makes now. I didn't have money like that, so I would get really creative. I had a series called Kick versus Kick.
Nice.
Where I would literally just get 2 shoes that I owned.
Right.
And the video would be, which one would you guys choose out of these 2 shoes?
That's a great video idea.
And people watch them. It would get a lot of engagement because everyone that watched would comment.
I might steal that idea.
And I did like on foot videos for my shoes. Nice. I did discussion videos. That was a big thing back in the day. Wow. Was discussion videos. You
just had your 2 shoes debate each other.
But it was a different world. Like I remember ABC put out an article, or maybe it was a video piece, but this is like early 2013, like probably 2 months after I started, about resellers in the sneaker industry, and they kind of conflated resellers and sneakerheads. Okay. Turns out they were a little prophetic. They were just maybe like 5 years ahead of the times. But I made a discussion video just talking about this article that they wrote, and that was a video that people watched.
That's awesome.
And I think that was a better performing video for me because it like hit the algorithm of people looking for the article.
Totally.
But yeah, it was a different world, and that's why I started to try and be a part of those live streams.
Right.
I got to do some of those live streams. I remember, I think I had 200 subscribers, and no, less than that. I think less than 100 subscribers. And Nightwing, who's now Wear Testers.
Yes. Who's also one of your clients, I believe.
He is one of our clients. That was awesome. A really cool full circle moment. But he was like my 4th subscriber, which was super cool.
Oh my gosh.
But I remember I made a video. I reviewed a pair of my soccer shoes, but the title was like whatever the name of the soccer shoes was.
Right.
And thank you, Nightwing2303, where I thanked him for subscribing to me in the video.
That's awesome. That's great. Oh my gosh.
Which is so funny in hindsight. But he had a series where like, I think once a month, once every 2 weeks, he would highlight an up and coming sneaker YouTuber on his website.
That's awesome.
And you needed to apply for it.
Right.
And I think I applied for it, maybe 2 months after I applied for it, he got back to me. He was like, hey man, you're going to be up next. Like, what would you like a little paragraph about you to say?
That's awesome.
And at the time, I had grown from like maybe 75 subscribers when I applied to
Right.
let's say like 250 now.
That's
and I
awesome.
remember I emailed him back and I said, "Hey man, thank you, but I've grown a lot since then, so you could give it to someone else."
That's very, very good of you. That's very. Did he end up giving it?
He still gave it to me.
Nice.
But it was really funny. The 250 subscribers in my mind was like, oh, I've made it. I made it. I applied to Foot Locker in 12th grade, and I put on my resume that I had 800 subscribers on a sneaker YouTube channel.
Did you get the job?
I did not get the job.
Little did you know that you'd become one of the biggest sneaker YouTubers.
I guess, yeah.
That's wild. I mean, that's really interesting to see your progression, and your video quality obviously got significantly better. But I think one thing that you did better than most, I would say probably almost everyone in sneaker YouTube, is that you are incredible at talking. And it's not like the kind of like, it's not like politician talking where you're just kind of saying nothing. You literally somehow put together these really well thought out ideas and arguments, and you are able to do them all in one take, and you're able to just kind of do it off the top of your head. You're like a great speaker, and so I think that's something that no one else really had. Like for me, like I would have to do 17 million takes. You've seen me do it. Osman's seen me do it. It takes me 17
I once had
million
to
takes.
walk into Seth's recording studio to
I'm so sorry for Siri. She didn't understand what you had.
I had to walk into Seth's recording studio once to
Yes.
help him film an ad read.
It was the worst.
Because I was sitting in his living room and he was doing take after take after take for
still
probably
does
half
that.
an hour.
I got a teleprompter. We're good now. We're good now. But that was one thing that really impressed me about you, is that you've even like, I could, because we did a lot of collaboration videos at the time. So anytime I'd put you in a video, I could literally just set up the camera for like 5 minutes and you would just go, and it would be like gold. It would all be gold.
I don't think that came from, I mean, YouTube definitely helped, but I think I had that prior to YouTube.
That's what I think. I think that's what helps you get to where how you became such a big YouTuber. Is
I agree.
that.
And I think I took it for granted earlier, but now in business and running a client service business, being able to talk to people if we're getting on sales calls, like I think that's one of my skills that I value the most, is I can just talk.
Yeah.
Right. I don't need to hum and haw and think about what to say. I used to do that with high school presentations where I purposely wouldn't study for oral presentations. I mean, my grades are not good. I wouldn't recommend doing this, but I would purposely not study just to see how good of a grade I could get winging a presentation and just bullshitting.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it helped with YouTube for sure. Because if you're walking down a New York street and you just turn the camera on and start talking about whatever you see, it makes for interesting content. Sometimes, sometimes you cut the clip and because you're just blabbering about nonsense. But
did you ever get self-conscious walking down the New York streets with your camera out?
No, never in New York. So keep in mind, when I was vlogging, this is like a new phenomenon, right? Now, this is actually funny. We've seen an inversion where you don't see as many DSLRs around the street anymore. The big cameras. You used to see a lot. Like 2019, 2020 was probably peak normalcy of people walking around with big camera rigs. But now it's just the iPhones, right? You see girls with their little iPhone tripods. And it's normal. You know what they're doing. Oh, they're making Instagram stuff, right? But in like so my first couple of years of videos, they were in my room. But I probably started vlogging in 2015. And it was still like weird. Right? People weren't vlogging.
Especially in Winnipeg, Canada.
Especially in Winnipeg, Canada. So when I went to New York, people got it.
Right.
They'd still come up to you and be like, "Oh my God, are you a vlogger?"
Right.
Or like, that definitely doesn't happen now. It's more normal.
Right.
But in Winnipeg, you would get weird looks. Like people would be like, do we need to send this guy to the psychiatric center? Like you would
They'd
get
never
really...
seen Casey. They had no idea what was going on.
Exactly. Right. It was a very, very new thing, and I think that's what gave us an advantage, is that we were doing something that was new. And to be frank, the quality of content needed to be successful was way lower than what it is now.
Yes.
I think for a big reason, because it was new, right? It was just, oh, someone is doing this, let me watch it.
Right.
Whereas now there's 5,000 people doing it, and it's only the 50 people with the best script writing or best video ideas or best production value that are getting the bulk of the views. Whereas back then, like, I still don't know how to edit well. My videos were never like beautifully cinematographized. They were never beautifully edited. They were not like, I picked up a camera. I was like, "Hey guys, what's up? Today we're walking around Hong Kong," and that was the video, right? And I could edit a full video start to finish in probably an hour and a half.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
that's really.
But
impressive.
it was not like, the editing was not that impressive. It was just like, let's get the meat of the content out there and worry about tomorrow's video.
Right. I do remember talking to you around that time, and you would always be like, "Okay, when I need to go out and film this video," like whenever you'd visit New York. Because at the time, I think you were still living in Winnipeg, just flying to New York, and I was living in New York. And whenever you'd come, like we'd really just go out and film all day for like 4 days in a row, and it was a blast. It was so much fun. It was a good time. But then there was definitely that stress, I think, for both of us, of like, okay, we got to get this video out, we got to get the content out. I'm like, so that was definitely a stressful time. But
that's one reason why I wanted to stop. Like the burnout from it. I was posting almost daily. I don't think you were posting as often.
No, I wasn't. Yeah.
Especially vlogging. Like thinking of something interesting to do every single day not fun.
Right.
And you kind of lose sight of why are you doing it? Like, am I doing this because I want to do it because I think it's going to be fun, or am I doing this because I think my audience is going to want to watch it?
Right.
Like, I remember I went to Hong Kong on a whim, and yeah, it was great. I had a good time.
That wasn't for SneakerCon? I thought
the first time I went was
so you
for
just went again.
SneakerCon. But I went again
Wow.
because all the videos there the first time did super well.
Right.
So I'm like
Right.
flying halfway across the world, and I get it. Like, it's a job, right?
Right.
People do plenty of things they wouldn't normally do for their job.
Right.
So I'm not complaining.
Right.
But it's a weird circumstance where like kind of your life and what you're doing for your videos intertwine, and it's hard to tell which is which.
Absolutely. So we obviously talked about your YouTube career, the reason you sort of stopped doing it, but what led into small screen? What led into your business? And was your business, was that a product of your YouTube career because you sort of understood it from the creator point of
I
view?
would say to a certain extent, the initial inception was from my YouTube career. But I'm not going to act like I was some expert in the space because I did YouTube videos.
Were
like
you getting brand deals before small screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was getting brand deals for myself. I wouldn't say I was like a master negotiator.
Okay.
You were outreaching, or they were just emailing you?
I
"Hey,
did do some outreach.
Okay.
That was so there's like two kind of light bulb moments. One of them is the first time I did brand outreach. So this trip that I just said to Hong Kong, also went to Singapore. I didn't want to do it by myself, so I brought my good friend Josh with me.
Oh, cool.
Who you've met him. He's a professional videographer, creative guy. At the time, he was finishing up like a master's program in creative media. And I was like, hey, you want to come to Hong Kong and Singapore? I'll, pay for the flight and hotel and everything. Just help me do some editing and filming.
Right.
And he's like, hell yeah, let's do it. The entire thing all in was about $8,000, which for 21-year-old Tom, that's a good chunk of money, right?
It's a good chunk of money.
Like, I don't really want to pay for this all by myself,
right?
And like, obviously, you'll make money off the videos, but leading up to the trip, I emailed a bunch of brands being like, hey, I'm doing these videos. I can put you in this spot. Would you want to sponsor this video? And I paid for like 75% of the trip within a day of doing that.
Wow.
So that was kind of a light bulb moment.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Just by reaching out. And this is only brands that I'd previously worked with. This wasn't even any new brands.
Right.
So that was one light bulb moment. The other one came 3 years before I started small screen in March of 2017.
Okay.
So just over 3 years before.
Right.
In Cleveland, SneakerCon Cleveland. I don't know if you were going at that point.
I was, 2017 is about when I started going.
Okay, so you might have even been here, but I know Tony, Bull, Name Brand, a bunch of other YouTubers that we won't name names just because it would kind of give away information for the story. But we all went to go see a movie, and then we went to Chili's for dinner. Okay, at a movie theater parking lot in Cleveland.
Wow,
this is where all great business ideas start. Is the movie theater parking lots in Cleveland in Chili's, and we were all being booked for the same campaign with the brand for this new product release that they had, and they were paying quite well. They're a bigger brand, and one of the creators whose channel is probably 10 times the size of mine, he said, yeah, this is the highest paying campaign I've ever got. And we're like, that's incredible. How much did they pay you? And he says, they're paying me $25,000, which, hey, that's a nice chunk of change for making a video.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, I got 15. And his channel, $15,000.
Oh, very nice.
And his channel is almost 10 times the size of mine.
Wow.
And it's not like it's linear. It's not like he should have, if I got 15, he should have got 150.
Right.
It's not linear one for one. But if I got 15, he probably should have got 75 or 80, being in the industry now.
Right.
And that was kind of the second light bulb of there are people that just, by no fault of their own, are leaving money on the table.
Right.
Because it is very much the Wild West. Even still now, 8 years after this conversation, is still the Wild West in this industry.
Totally.
We see creators every single day where we sign them and we're like, hey, great news. We're going to start charging 5 times what you were charging.
Yeah.
And that was the second little, maybe there's something here. And then finally in 2020 started the company, and the rest is history.
That's awesome. Well, for everyone watching who maybe isn't familiar with small screen, could you just give us a really brief overview of what it is?
Yeah. So if I was on a sales call with you, fine audience, I would describe it as we want to let creators be creative and we handle everything else.
Cool.
So very few creators get into making content, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, to worry about sourcing sponsorships and partnerships or negotiating contracts or sending cold outreach emails to brands or redlining contracts or, chasing down because they're 2 weeks late to pay.
Right.
Let's bleep out that brand name. And very few people get into it for that. Very few people have the capacity to, how do I book a speaking tour for myself? How do I get a book deal for myself? How much should I charge if Hulu reaches out and wants me to be a host of their TV show? Right? That's what we do.
Right.
So we're like their business manager, their talent agent, wrapped into one. So we're making sure that they can spend all their time and energy focusing on the content to make it as good as it can be. And we make sure to make as much money as possible off of that content and get the best opportunities they should. So our average client at this point has probably around 800,000 to 1 million followers, give or take, is making great content, has an engaged audience, and then we come in and make sure they're earning as good of a living as possible off of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Really quick, I want to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, APTHCRY. APTHCRY are your sneakers' favorite socks. They're incredibly soft, breathable, and because of our ISOWeave technology, they fit great. Not only that, they look great with all the sneakers in your collection. We are obviously the co-founders of APTHCRY, so we are a little bit biased, but regardless, I think we have genuinely
honest.
We are honest, that's right, and I think we've created the best socks ever.
I agree.
What would you give them out of 10?
10.
I agree. I'll give them an 11.
Fair.
So there you go.
Solid.
Check them out, apthcry.com. If you sign up for our email address or email list, you get
15% off.
That's right. That's correct. So check out APTHCRY socks. Get your sneakers' new favorite socks and enjoy the most comfortable socks you've ever put on your feet. That being said, back to the episode. So you're kind of like, if you were to look at traditional media, you'd be like sort of the actor's manager, but also bring them the sponsorships, whereas you're doing that for new media specifically.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very cool.
What is the criteria for finding someone new?
That's a great question. So at this point, we're pretty picky. Not because we think like we're so awesome. I mean, I do think we do a great job, but we want to make sure that if we're bringing someone on, that we feel extremely confident that they're going to get the value from working with us that they want to get. So we do say no to some people. We do find some channels that have amazing content and great views that we just don't reach out to because we know we're not the right fit. First thing is they need to have an audience. You know, we're not going to work with someone that just started 2 weeks ago and has 500 subscribers, and we're just not going to be able to help you. Need to have an engaged audience as well, right? So if they have 3 million subscribers but are getting 50,000 views a video, not going to be able to help you.
Right.
If those two criteria are met, what we're really looking for past that in terms of the content is they're doing something cool or they're sharing a cool skill or a cool piece of knowledge. The creators we work with aren't really the like, oh my God, look at me. Like they're not the, today I bought my new Lamborghini, or they're not the, you know, cozy day of my life where they don't really, I mean, we have, you know, girls who do lifestyle content, but it's cool.
Right.
You know, it's like day in my life as a med student, or day in my life running my small business. Or we have people that build houses, or people that are homesteading off the grid, or people that fix cars, or people that play golf, or people that review tech, or I mean, we have so many niches. People that review books, the people that are doing something cool, sharing something cool, know something cool, rather than just the hey, look at me type influencers. And then past that, you know, it's a personality and expectations match of making sure that, okay, what does this person expect from us? Are we actually going to be able to do this?
Right.
We've learned that through almost 5 years of doing it, is that if someone comes in and they're expecting, you know, service up here, and we know we can only give them service here, just don't start working with them to begin with, because it's not gonna lead to them being happy.
Right. And when you say service up here, you mean way more than what's
reasonable. Like one good learning experience we had was we had a creator who was making great content and very sponsorable content, that we could easily pump out every video a $4,000 to $6,000 sponsorship for them probably.
Okay.
But they had gone on some website, and guys, if you start making content, or if you're making content currently and you build an audience, don't trust these websites. There's these websites that will tell you how much you should charge for a sponsorship.
Oh, gotcha.
It's not true. That's like when you Google a celebrity's net worth. Like it's about with that much level of accuracy. So we should be getting her $4,000 to $6,000, and I know this because we've done tens of thousands of paid partnerships for our clients.
Right.
She wanted 10 grand because this website told her she was worth 10 grand.
Gotcha.
And we overlooked it on the sales call. We're like, oh, well, she'll come around when she sees no brands will pay her that.
Right.
It just didn't work out that way. She grew increasingly more frustrated, said we didn't know how to do our job because we couldn't get her what this website said she was worth.
Gotcha.
And then just ended up parting ways after a few months working with each other. So there's situations like that where, you know, if we know what we can do for you is not going to make you happy, just, you know, let's not even start.
That makes a lot of sense.
What was the largest single video, like,
largest single
in
video
your history of small screen?
That's a good question.
Like, monetarily,
like largest single video, I think probably about 75 grand for a single sponsorship.
What's the largest overall sponsorship?
Largest overall.
That's crazy. Wait, 75 grand for one video?
For one Instagram reel, yeah.
Oh, an Instagram reel.
Yeah, for
it wasn't
one
even
Instagram
like full
reel.
video.
No, but like keep in mind, there's, you know, we work with some awesome creators, like multiple millions of followers, but 75 grand isn't even scratching the surface. Like there are,
like
we're talking
Kylie's
about big,
probably
like
million.
Alex Earl or people like that, they're probably clocking, $350K.
Wow. Okay.
For an Instagram reel. Largest singular partnership with a creator from a brand, Starbucks has pumped close to $700,000 into a year-long, just over a year, a 14-month deal with one of our creators.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the biggest one.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And that's one brand deal, right?
Wow.
And we have creators that are posting deals like this every week.
Right.
So it adds up. There's money in it.
Is that allowed to be said, the company name?
Yeah, we can say Starbucks.
Okay. Cool. So I think it's safe to say that you're making more money than you made on YouTube. I think that's fair to say. Personally.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about the creators here.
Yes, no, but I'll say from a business point of view, just for
Yeah, so we're not keeping the $75,000.
No, of course
obviously.
not.
We take our management fee for helping them outsourcing that, and then the creator obviously gets the bulk of the money.
Right. No, of course. I was just making a call back to like how when you start, it doesn't matter. That being said, that's incredible. That's so cool that you're
it is very, very
That's
cool.
amazing. And I can say from personal experience, being one of your creators, you guys genuinely have brought in a lot of brand deals for me. In fact, I don't even really do outreach anymore. You guys do that exclusively for me.
Mm-hmm.
You also do bring in a lot of deals for me. And I think that it has really made my life easier. Because now I have like an agent that works, or Jason. Really
Jason, shout out Jason.
We do brand manager. What do you call him?
Talent manager.
Talent manager.
Jason's a senior talent manager, though. Let's put some respect on his name.
Shout out to Jason. But no, it's really helped because he just keeps me accountable if I need to get a brand deal in, which I actually do. Sorry, Jason. He just texts me. He's like, "Yo, get this in," and he also gives me a lot of options in terms of what brand deals I can take. And if there's something I'm not comfortable with, like I don't do gambling deals, I just say no, and he's like, "Cool, I'll let them know."
Exactly.
So it makes it so much easier for me as a creator, and I think that you provided
Seth also doesn't do hair loss deals either.
No, I don't. I should.
Really?
I should.
Yeah, he's turned down a couple of those.
I know. It's crazy. My hairline's always been bad. It's not like I'm losing. It's the same as it's always been. I've got to say.
So why do you turn it down, or do you want to talk about it?
Just because, like,
I understand gambling because that's like
that makes sense.
I already get enough comments about it. If I do a hair loss deal, people will be like, they'll be like, "Why isn't it working?" I'm like, "This is just my hairline. It's just a messed up hairline."
My guess is you probably turned down like $15,000 over multiple offers from hair loss companies.
I probably have.
Have there been like, not weird, but like odd like turn downs? Or you're like, why you like that for other creatives?
It's tough. It's really, really tough because and I would prefer it this way. We work for the creator, right? They're hiring us to do a job for them. We always want them to be in charge, right? So they're always going to have the final say. I tell a lot of people this on sales calls, that you're always going to be able to say yes or no. Our job's to bring as many opportunities to you as possible. You choose which ones you want to do. So even if next week we came to you and said, "Hey, Nike wants to pay you $1 million," you could say no. Right? Like we might ask you a second and third time, "Are you sure?" But like it's up to you.
Right.
So yeah, occasionally we'll have creators that we see the fit.
Right.
And so it can be a little frustrating to, put that work in to get the deal to a place where it's ready to sign a contract, but the creator doesn't see it. Like we had one time and this is a great creator that we've worked with for coming up on 4 years, I think. We got her I believe a 6-month partnership. It was solid money for a breakfast cereal company.
Nice. Wow. Okay.
And she turned it down because she doesn't eat breakfast cereal.
That's fair.
Which respectable.
Right.
But situations like that where it's like, it's a very PG, palatable product. Like there's nothing controversial. It can be frustrating, but at the same time, right, it's our job to find the brands that our clients want to work with. So we can't be that frustrated.
That makes sense. And I think it's good for the creator too, because it allows them to be more genuine with their
absolutely. And
sponsorships,
at the end of the day, that's what's most successful long term.
Yes, that makes sense.
Like we have a fantastic creator that we work with who is an absolute madman, and I'm sure he'd take that as a compliment. He's living out in the bush in rural Canada, building a cabin from scratch with hand tools.
Okay.
And he will not take a single. He has turned down well over $100,000 of sponsorships because he will not. And this is over the past year. Like he's just getting started. He's in his first year of content.
Wow.
He will not take a deal unless it's something he actively uses in his life already.
Fair.
It could be a different brand of something he uses.
Right.
But he won't, even if it's a product he's like, "Oh, that seems really cool, but I'm not already using it," won't take it.
So he won't even try and use it first to see if he likes it.
Which I respect the hell out of it.
Me too.
Because his audience knows that if he's promoting something, it's 100% genuine because he's already using this thing in his life.
Totally. That's so interesting. Okay. What would you say is what would you say for any creators who are watching, what would you say is like the average deal size that like a mid-level to large creator would get?
We're going to need to define mid-level to large.
Okay, let's say you mentioned earlier 800,000 to $1 million.
Yeah.
What would you say is the average deal size?
So this is a tough question, Seth.
It depends on the creator.
It depends on the creator. It depends on a few things. What's your engagement rate?
Okay.
Let's say average engagement. So if you have 1 million followers, you're going to be hoping for probably on Instagram at least 250K for Reels.
Right.
YouTube, it might be a bit lower depending on how long it took you to get to 1 million. But let's just say Instagram, 250,000 on Reels would probably be average.
Right.
It depends on the niche as well. So if you're doing comedy skits, you're going to make less money than if you're doing women's lifestyle. If you're doing tech, you're going to make more money than if you're doing like vlogs.
Okay.
If you're doing real estate, you're going to make more money. Like it does depend on the niche.
Okay.
And then also there's 2 different types of campaigns. We have different words for them at Small Screen. There's conversion campaigns and awareness campaigns.
Gotcha.
So conversion campaigns is every campaign you've ever done on YouTube in all likelihood, because there's a link that you can click and the brands know we paid this person X amount of dollars, which means our customer acquisition cost is this, so we want this many signups, and we will track if we got this many signups, right? So that's very focused on, are we getting our money's worth out of this singular creator? And those are probably 85% of the campaigns. So on a conversion campaign, 1 million followers on Instagram, 250,000 views reel, like, you know, good content niche, probably going to be getting you about 10 grand.
Wow. Okay. Very cool.
What platform do sponsors pay the most for? YouTube?
View per view, YouTube by far.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, YouTube by far.
And
But
then-
it is harder to get that amount of views
Yeah.
on YouTube,
Right.
for sure.
There's a long it's a
But
longer video.
then the engagement campaigns or the awareness campaigns, those are where all logic goes to the wind sometimes, because that is, we're talking like multinational, like Fortune 100 companies
Oh wow. Okay.
promoting their
Like
hot
Starbucks.
something like that, or their hot new tech product, or their, you know, brand new, you know, home product, or whatever the case may be, like big companies that all of us know that, you know, are in the news every day.
Right.
Promoting their new product, they don't care about people buying the product off of this one person's ad. So you can charge a lot more.
Right.
So a good creator, 1 million followers, 250,000 views a reel, for like a hot new tech product awareness campaign, you could get up to like 50 grand.
Yeah.
Wow.
You mentioned your like historical biggest was for an Instagram reel.
Yeah.
Which is
Wow.
wild. You would
Exactly.
think that's
So
a long,
interesting.
like an hour-long video.
No, not at all.
Documentary.
It's a 45, 60
Yeah.
second long video.
Wow.
But yeah, on YouTube, there's definitely more money being spent on YouTube more
Right.
prolifically.
Right.
But it is tied to conversions. right?
Gotcha.
So brands will not come
Gotcha.
back and rebook you if you're not
convert.
pushing product to
Do
your
you think
audience.
creators or new creators need to build up all the audiences, or just having an Instagram
That's a great
at
question.
a million
That's a really good
is
question, yeah.
is good enough?
So what we'll see is most of our creators that are on YouTube primarily do have an Instagram.
Yeah,
And most
but
have a
it's not
TikTok.
always the other way around.
Yeah. Creators that are primary on short form, most of our bigger clients on short form don't have long form. So I don't think it's 100% necessary. It's never bad, but it's a completely different art form.
Right.
It's
Oh, it is.
completely different. To get dialed in at how to make a fantastic 60-second vertical video, it's a completely different skill set of how do I make a dialed in 12-minute vlog or
Right.
tutorial
Yeah.
or whatever. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessary. It's never bad. Would always encourage it. Diversify your audience.
course.
But
Right.
Well, a lot of times you see these million-plus creators on Instagram. They have a link in bio of like YouTube, and then they have 10,000 followers.
it
or
happens all the time.
subscribers.
Yeah, all the time.
Interesting. So what would you mentioned earlier that certain niches pay more than others. What would you say are like the top 2 or 3 highest paying niches?
That's a good question. I mean, this is I don't know how to best say this, like intentional women's lifestyle.
Okay.
Not just, hey, look at me go to Pilates, but like
Right.
I said, like day in my life as a med student, day in my life as a small business
Cool.
owner,
Okay.
day in my life as a young mother, stuff like that, like
Right.
about something
Right.
that does extremely well. There's a lot of brands pumping money into that space.
I'm sure there's a lot of money to be made in that space because there's a lot of products that are
There's
very
there's
easy
a lot of products in that space.
Yeah.
Tech is another really good one. There is a shortage of ad spots available for our tech
Oh,
creators.
okay.
Like there's more brand interest than there is
Really?
availability to advertise
That's
with our tech
wild.
creators. And I
Okay.
mean, we have a tech creator right here with Tech
know.
Valor.
That's true.
And then I'd say top 3. Honestly, for us, this might just be a sample size from like the creators that we work with,
Right.
but the book creators, the book talk
Really?
creators,
Wow.
or bookish creators as they call them,
Wow. Okay.
that review romance novels, and it's mostly women's fiction,
Right.
young women's fiction. But they do
Interesting.
fantastic.
And
Like
what type of companies are drawn to those creators?
you name it, it's a ton of lifestyle stuff. Like
Okay.
we're talking everywhere from the actual book publishers to there's book subscriptions like Book of the Month. They spend a
Okay.
lot of money with these creators
Right.
where you
Okay,
get
that makes sense.
a new set of books every month in the mail. There's like book club apps where you can have a book club online, and then there's just like lifestyle stuff. Like
Right.
there's like there's vitamins and supplements and
Right.
clothing companies and home decor companies, because a lot of their videos do happen in their house. So okay, let's give you a new bookshelf
Yeah.
for a sponsored video, or a new mattress, or whatever the case may be.
So
So there's
interesting. Okay.
sky's the limit.
That's awesome.
So for a
Yeah.
brand like APTHCRY, where would you recommend? Like, what audience should we
So
hit?
this is
knowing us-
actually
about us.
This is interesting. I would say my last recommendation would be to hit the sneaker niche, because everyone already knows you in the
Yeah.
sneaker niche, right? I would go into like, what is a niche that probably likes a lot of the same stuff as the sneaker niche,
Mhm.
but isn't as entrenched in the sneaker niche. Like they'll
Gotcha.
buy their
Right.
1 or 2 pairs of Jordans. They have like similar style, they buy the same hoodies or baseball caps or whatever,
Right.
but they're not like in it.
Right.
So I would say maybe like tech could be a good niche,
Okay.
because lots of young guys that are into laptops and
MKBHD
computers
has
and
spread
whatever.
ones.
And they're
Exactly,
spending
right?
money.
And they spend money, right?
Yep.
Tech could be a good niche. I would say this is a good question.
Like if we
Maybe
came to small screen and be like, hey, we have
Mhm.
APTHCRY, what do you recommend?
Well,
in
we
terms
would
of
we would
creators?
probably start looking at the demos of the creators, right? Like
Okay.
we would be looking for, I'm assuming most of your customer base is like 24 to 35-year-old men.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's
In
exactly what
America.
it is, yep.
So we would okay, we don't want to work with anyone unless they have over a 60% US audience, 25 to 35-year-old men,
Mhm.
let's say 90% male audience, give or
Right.
take, right? That's
Gotcha.
probably
Yeah,
who we're
yeah, you
targeting.
hit it right.
So you're going to get a lot of tech. You're going to get cars probably.
Oh, true. Okay.
I would say even golf creators could be a
Okay.
good shot, because
Okay.
like golf guys have like some funky socks. I think that's like acceptable in the golf world.
Yep.
I would start looking at stuff like that off the top of my head.
Would you sponsor YouTube videos? Would you sponsor short form? Would you do UGCs? What would be your...
That's a good question. Because I'm probably not going to buy a sock the first time I hear about it.
Right.
So you need like some stickiness
Gotcha.
to be around for a while.
So would it be like a long-term... It'd be like a 6-month deal, essentially, is what you'd be suggesting.
Maybe not a 6-month deal, but you could do 6 deals with 6 different creators.
Oh, cool.
So then maybe I buy it off the 6th time I've seen the deal.
Right. But
Um,
all within the same niche, all within a somewhat shared audience.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think a lot of brands that are getting into the influencer space,
Mhm.
and if we're ever working with a brand with one of our clients that we know is new, we always try and temper expectations,
Right.
because you're not going to spend a bunch of money with. Sometimes brands want to just be like, hey, we don't want to work with 8 mid-sized creators. We want to work with 1 big creator.
Right.
And we always tell them, like, hey, you can, but let's be realistic about our expectations, because
Right.
people are not going to see this product that they've never ever heard of before and immediately buy $75,000 worth of it
Right.
off of 1 Instagram reel,
That
right?
makes
Like
sense.
people need to see a product a few times before they start purchasing it.
That makes sense.
And maybe socks is different because it is, it's a much cheaper product.
Right.
You don't need to like, mortgage your house to buy socks.
Yes.
But yeah, I would put it in a space where hopefully me as a viewer gets to see 5 or 6 people talk about it.
Interesting. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Is that the same sort of advice you'd give to like? So I mean, our company pretty inside and out because we're really good friends. We talk about things. But I think for people who are also starting companies, who I have some friends who are a little bit earlier on than we are in terms of size. That are always asking like, what's the best way for me to get out there? What's the best way for me to? Should I be putting money into Facebook ads? Should I be putting money into influencers? I don't know what to do.
And these are product-based companies?
These are product/app based companies. Like, what would you say for someone who's starting up a company? Maybe they're a year into it. Maybe they've got like $50,000 to $100,000 worth of sales.
Yeah.
Lifetime. Like, do you say like, is it you shouldn't even get into influencing? Do you say they should start their own channel? Do you say they should put Facebook ads? Like, what's your?
Paid ads.
I mean, I think starting your own stream of content is never a bad thing, provided you have the time.
Right.
Because I think lots of people overemphasize the importance of that, where like this is a great balance where, I mean, it helps that you have a stream of content that is also a great income for you. But
Right.
I do see some people that think that's the be all end all and then
Right.
end up spending 25 hours a week making content for their business.
But it's also
instead
not
of-
for every. Like, I wouldn't be on this podcast if I had a choice. Or
Exactly.
just be making
He's
content for
actually
myself.
handcuffed to the table right now.
Yeah, you haven't seen his hands yet.
But yeah, it's not for everyone. And it's not necessary,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Like I said, I haven't made a YouTube video in 3 years, and small screen has grown
Exploded.
exponentially.
Yeah.
So it's not necessary, but I would just say grind it out. And it's different with like an app or product, but like we have grown our company through just brute force, cold emailing people, right? Like we didn't have any reputation when we started. Thankfully, we had people like you. Our first couple of clients were my friends. But the sales pitch for the first 9 months to a year of us working with people, we would send out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cold emails to creators. We didn't have a very sophisticated sales process. And when we would get on a phone call with them, we weren't even doing video calls at this point. We made it sound better than this, but essentially our sales call was, hey, you know, we just started 3 months ago. Our only clients are my friends. No, we don't have much of a track record. No, we can't show you any successful campaigns we've done for a creator in your niche. Like, no, we've never worked with this brand that you want to work with before. And you just grind it out and bang your head against the wall until you finally see some light on the other side.
That's amazing.
So if I had a product-based company, I've told you this before.
Yes, you have.
I would either myself or I get like some sales guy on like a low salary with like some commission incentives to drive to every single men's clothing store in a 200-mile radius and just, you know, explain the virtues of APTHCRY and be like, hey, let's get some stuff in here. Like just grind it out. It doesn't have to be fancy the way you do it. Just get your product in people's hands.
That's a really great piece of advice. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, well, so you mentioned starting your company. You really were grinding it out. Now, what, you said 5 years later, 3 years later?
This late this summer will be 5 years.
5 years later. Okay, so where are you guys at now? Like, how many employees are you? I know that you're based in 2 different countries, but what's like the scale that you're at right now?
Yeah, so we have about 30 people on staff.
Okay.
In 2 different countries.
That's amazing.
The bulk of our staff is talent managers working with our creators, with our clients.
Cool.
And then like I said, we have about 330 clients.
Awesome.
Bunch of niches everywhere from LA to New York to Nigeria to Malaysia. Awesome. And everywhere in between. And it's pretty cool. It's cool to see. I think my favorite part is some of the smaller creators we work with. And I mean, I won't say unfortunately, just because, you know, we're working with creators of a higher caliber now because we have built a reputation. But when we work with a smaller creator that gets to say, hey, I'm quitting my full-time job. That's super cool.
That's awesome.
And it always happens sooner than they think. Like I remember one of my favorite creators that we work with, Crochet by Jenna. Jenna, if you somehow watch this, you're a gem. But I called her up for her birthday, probably like late. I don't know when your birthday is, Jenna. I'm sorry, but September maybe. September. And just wished her a happy birthday. And you know, I said, "What are you up to today?" And she's like, "Oh, well, I'm just at work right now. So later tonight." And I kind of forgot that she had a day job. And I was like, oh, well, you know what? Here's to next birthday, you not having a day job that you have to be at.
That's awesome.
And she's like, oh, maybe. We'll see. Month and a half after that phone call, she quit her job.
That's amazing.
And that's probably the most rewarding part of it is getting to see like, okay, the work that we're doing is actually, you know, tangibly shaping people's lives and allowing them to do what they want to do.
That's incredible.
I wanted to ask you this before, but you just brought it up again. What was the point where, because in the beginning of Small Screen, you were doing both YouTube and Small Screen. And you said it hit a point where you're like, okay, I'm not going to make any more videos. Well, what happened in your head or what in your life that made you be okay with that?
Yeah. It was a convergence of 2 things. I think first in hindsight, if I had it my way, I probably would have stopped a year before I did. I think I was hanging on too much because it did feel like this is actually what my next YouTube video is about. Letting go of like a dream that you feel like is your identity to pursue something better. Very cool. And I think lots of people, I mean, there's, you know, throughout the history of time, there's probably tens of millions of people that have held on to something way too long because they're like, no, but this is who I am. Even though they had something better staring them in the face. And that was a lot of me continuing to make videos where it's like, this is all I've done for my adult life, right? Like I am a YouTuber. This is what I do. What will I do with my, like, I can't just not do this. This is like intertwined with who I am. So I think the tipping point was when I finally stopped making videos. We were still small. I think we had 4 people on staff, maybe 5. But it was getting to the point where, okay, we had 50, 60 clients. We were, you know, pulling in hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. And that's awesome. It was like, this does not make sense for me to be making these YouTube videos. And the uploads had slowed down. It went from like 5 times a week to 3 times a week to once a week. By the time I stopped, I was uploading maybe once a week. So it had definitely slowed down already. But
it was like a financial, like you felt like you didn't need to.
I felt like I didn't need to, and I had already wanted to for a while. So it was like, okay, let's pull the plug here and focus on this because you know, I think you know, if our clients are going to sign a contract with us that says we're responsible for their livelihood, I'd like to put as much focus on that as possible.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the best decisions I made to stop making YouTube videos, which sounds very strange to a lot of people. I appreciate it.
So what has been the biggest hurdle for you in terms of, because you have a really interesting history in terms of like your job history, basically. So you started out, you were working.
Never
for
had a
yourself.
job.
I did want to get into that a little bit. So did you go to college? Did you do anything of that, or did you go straight into YouTube?
I went to college for 3 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then YouTube just took off, or
no? So do you want, you know, the story about my dad and me hiding from my dad? Do you want that story?
It's up to you. Whatever
we'll
you'd like
tell
to
the
say.
story.
Okay.
So I went to college for an illustrious 3-week post-secondary career.
Nice.
Was gonna get a business degree, and I was always interested in business.
Right.
Like I had this. Maybe this sounds really conceited, but even when I was a little kid, I just had this assumption that I would be successful in business.
That's great.
Like it wasn't like, oh, I hope I could do that. It's just like, oh, when I'm doing that, when I'm older. Right. And so I was going to go to business school, was excited for that. My mom had passed away in high school, so I didn't have the best grades in 12th grade. So I like registered for all my classes late. And I think as a result, I didn't get in the classes that I wanted to.
Right.
And that was probably one of the biggest blessings in disguise, because I hated the classes I was in. It was like some bullshit anthropology class about, I forget what it was about, but it was like a niche of a niche of a niche of the study of humans.
Right. Wow. Okay.
And I was like, I cannot spend 3.5 months in this class.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the classes were pretty normal. But I was like, I don't want to do this it's a 4.5-year degree, the program that I was in. I don't want to do this for 4.5 years. So I dropped out after 3 weeks. My dad is a lawyer, obviously went to school for that. He's very like, go get an education. I was terrified to tell him. So in Canada, no one really goes away for school unless you have a sports scholarship or like a very specific program.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was still living at home at my dad's place, and going to first period stats class with a buddy that lived down the street. We drive to school together.
Nice.
So my early morning classes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. After I dropped out, I still kept on waking up early in the morning. I don't know if I've ever told this on camera before. I still kept on waking up early in the morning at like 6:30 in the morning. I'd have a shower. I'd like make noise in the kitchen, make sure I like clink some plates together and stuff. And then I'd open and close the front door as loud as I could. And then I'd take a pair of sneakers with me, bring them down to the basement, and I'd sit in the basement until my dad left for work. And I did that for about probably a month.
Did he ever find out that you did this?
Yeah, because he asked how my midterms were going.
Oh my god!
And I was like, about that.
Oh my god!
I couldn't lie to him at that point. He was furious. Like he was like, "You're throwing away your life." And keep in mind, he wasn't wrong, because, like you said, I didn't drop out of school because YouTube's going so well.
You were filming videos at this time.
So I started in 11th grade filming videos. So I think at the time, I would have had 10,000 to 15,000 subscribers, something like that. So it had taken off like a little bit.
Right.
I was making money.
What if you don't mind me asking, like, so back in what, 2016?
2014.
2014. What would a 10,000 subscriber YouTuber, sneaker YouTuber be making?
My guess would be I was probably making, at that time when I dropped out of college, about $2,000 a month.
Okay.
So that's
not
hey,
bad.
if you're 18 and you got $2,000 a month, that's not bad.
Yeah.
But it's not, hey, let me drop out of university to pursue this, right?
It's like, hey, let me put this money towards maybe my used car.
Exactly. So yeah, I dropped out of college. The original plan was, okay, I'm going to go back the next semester, the next year, or whatever the case was. And that's the only reason my dad was like laid off my case, because I told him I would do that.
Right.
And then I had nothing else to do, so I put all my time every day into making YouTube videos.
That's awesome.
And I think by the time it was, time to go back to school next year, I had not 15,000 but like 50,000 subscribers, and then I was making like a solid full-time income, maybe like 60-70 grand a year. And I was like,
awesome.
well, at the rate this is growing, let's see where this goes.
That's
and
awesome.
Never ended up going back to school, and very thankful. I think me registering for classes late and having a terrible anthropology class is one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
That's amazing. Well, one of the questions I like to ask people on the podcast is usually more geared towards creators, but obviously you're not really in that niche anymore. You're trying to get back into it a little bit, but is
keyword trying.
Has it been hard?
It's so weird. It's so weird. I don't know if I don't know if it would be like this with golf, but with basketball, if you've ever not shot a basketball for like a year,
right,
and your brain knows that you know how to do this, but your body's not cooperating with you.
Right.
That's how it feels filming the first couple of videos that I filmed.
Okay.
Where it's like, I know how to do this.
Right.
And I know what I should be doing.
Right.
but like I'm all thumbs when it comes to actually executing.
And you're posting on a new channel.
Yes. Yeah.
And are people from your previous life finding you?
Yeah, I had a few thousand people hop over.
Just like this.
Yeah. Well, I made a video on my old channel announcing that I was doing it. So then I had a few thousand people come over from that.
And what was the size of your old channel?
I think I've lost a bunch of subscribers now, but I think at
the peak,
400,000.
Okay.
Yeah. And now I think it's like 350 or something.
That's not bad. Still not bad.
Yeah. Not terrible.
That's awesome.
But yeah, what was your question about creators?
Yeah, so it was going to be usually for creators. I gear it because everyone always asks, what's a piece of advice you can give to creators, and that's fine. But everyone asks that question. I like to ask, if you started from zero but you had all the knowledge that you had, how would you get to the same point in your creative journey? But in your case,
I think it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I am doing
Actually, that's a good point. That's a good point. Okay, so
I might be the best suited person to ask this.
I will give you two questions then. How do you plan to get back to where you were at in your creator journey? But also, say your company disappeared tomorrow. It's not like you got canceled or anything. Your company just disappeared, but you still have all the knowledge that you have. What would you do to get back to where you are, or even to be bigger in? It doesn't have to be the same company, but in business.
Yeah, great question. First question about the content. I wouldn't say I'm trying to get back to where I was with the content. I think I started this for a very different reason. I talked about that in one of my videos. It's because I wanted to share my ideas.
That's awesome.
And I think that was one of the pitfalls of my previous career on YouTube, is that I cared too much about the views and making sure that the title was clickbaity enough so people clicked on it.
Yes.
Don't care about that at all. I just want to talk about things I think are interesting. So if that gets me 20,000 subscribers, or it gets me 30, or if it somehow blows up and gets me 500,000 subscribers, so be it. As long as I can talk to people that, like some of the things I'm putting out there, I'll call it a win. Even if it never makes me a single penny, I'll call it a win.
That's awesome.
But in terms of, let's say small screen disappears tomorrow, and I need to start again. I've said this before, like what we're doing, influencer management, it's great. We get to help a ton of people. It's an industry that I love, but it's not like I'm like, oh, I could never do anything other than influencer management.
Right.
I love the art of business.
Right.
I love finding a problem. How do we solve this? How much do we charge for this to make money while solving this? And how do we attract people to pay this to solve this problem for them? I really love that process. So I've said before, I think I'd be just as happy if I was running a dog food company as if I was running an influencer management company. And I think the thing that I would do if I had all the knowledge that I have right now and small screen went poof and I needed to start a new company, is I would talk to the smartest people around me and figure out what's a big problem in their life. Talk to the wealthiest people around me, what's a big problem in their life, and find out what the commonality was and what the best way to fix that was, and then
very cool.
Get to work.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, guys.
It's been an absolute blast. We've got one more segment exclusive to our YouTube content, which is sock shopping with Seth, where we get to go and
I'd also do sneaker shopping if we want.
Hey, I'm not against that either. Maybe check it out on Tom's channel. Probably not. But maybe. Who knows? Who knows? We never, you haven't specified exactly what kind of
I don't
content.
mean to let you guys down, but there's not going to be sneaker shopping on my channel.
But so thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been a blast. And I think for a lot of people who weren't aware of what you're doing, they now have this really deep understanding of what you're doing, which I think is super cool. And I think for a lot of people who are just getting into business, it was very inspiring to hear what you did. And I think just your mindset is so refreshing compared to a lot of the stuff that you read online.
All the other guests you've had. No, I'm just kidding.
From it's the internet is so filled with gurus.
Yep.
Or people, or I'd say the internet's filled with gurus, and then your actual life is filled with downers. People who are like, you can't do it. So it's,
can I talk on that for a second?
Of course,
the gurus.
Of course.
I think one of the greatest blessings I've had of I'm not gonna lie, small screen has done well, but obviously one thing you learn is there's always someone doing much better than you, right? One of the greatest blessings I've had is that in my 20s to meet some people my age that are multiples of multiples of multiples. Like we're talking billionaires in their 20s, often self-made billionaires in their 20s.
Right.
And their life's the same as yours, right?
That's awesome.
And the people that have that money don't act like these gurus.
Right.
So every time you see someone acting like that, it's bullshit.
That's awesome.
No one with the $50 million, $100 million a year income is making some tutorial on how they're going to get you in a private jet. Because guess what? They have $100 million a year already. They're just living their life with their friends and family. And they live pretty normal lives. They have, less people on their planes, and maybe they have a nicer watch than you. But I think that was one of the biggest blessings. It's like, yeah, money's cool and you can buy cool stuff with it. And, It's not bad to make money,
right?
But it's not like some magic key that's going to open up happiness to you. So if you see that stuff, don't chase after it. The best way to build a business is like a simple way to build a business. If you can't explain it in one sentence, it's probably not a good way to build a business.
Clip that. That was beautiful. That was perfect. I love that. That was a really, really refreshing take, and I really, really appreciate that. But on that note, thank you so much for joining us, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you guys want to check out Tom Stefaniuk and Small Screen, it's all linked either in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast or through our YouTube description down below. But seriously, it's been a blast. Hopefully we can have you on again soon.
Anytime.
Talk about how the company's grown, even since, because, dude, you're growing so quickly. Not to get back into the conversation, but you're growing so quickly. I mean, 6 months, you could be in a completely different stratosphere.
Fingers crossed.
So, yeah. Thank you guys so much. Make sure to subscribe to the Shoes Off podcast on YouTube and on all major podcasting platforms. With that being said, if you're still watching on YouTube, let's go do some sock shopping. Yeah, just POV, baby.
Okay, you're going to need to guide us here, son.
Okay, so you can grab any pair of socks from anywhere in the sock room, or if you want to grab some early collections that we have in stock, you can grab some of those as well.
Okay,
so we've got a
lot of choice.
We've got all the essential colors over there.
Okay, I do like the essentials collection.
Okay,
so
very cool.
APTHCRY is a pair of socks that I'd say I wear probably 3 or 4 days a week.
Nice. Okay, that's the majority of the week.
Yeah,
half to a majority. Man. I didn't know.
I don't have enough APTHCRY ankle socks. So
in
the summer, my APTHCRY usage really falls off.
We've got mids here, and then we've got ankles. We got no shows right there. Do we have ankles still, Josh? Oh, right over there.
What about the lucky green ones, the St. Patrick's Day?
We do have. I'll get you one of those. So the ankle socks are over here. The black lows. We've got black, white, and do you want XL? Do you want medium or regular? So
I think I had the regular schmegula.
Do you want to try the XLs? See if they're.
Is this the white?
That's the
ankles?
white.
These are the ones I have.
Okay, cool.
These are quality content.
Yeah, grab a pair of those. Or that's actually 2 pairs. Okay, cool. And then let me grab you the green lucky socks. Where are they? Oh, where are they at? Perfect. Thanks, sir. There's 2 different kinds of St. Patrick's Day socks. We've got the green lucky socks, or we've got the more standard like
ones are more
Celtic colors.
Palatable for fashion.
Yes, but these
ones are like more Celtic-y.
There you go. Okay, cool.
Let's do this.
Perfect. And then, if you want any other colors, we got tons of different color styles. We got new stuff. I
don't want to be greedy.
Take whatever you want.
Take whatever I want.
The last guest took 5 pairs. Oh, okay. Well, you might get bored of the graffiti after a while.
Okay, these are the basics.
Those are the basics. Yep.
Okay. I mean, you can never go wrong with some white basics.
Nice. Of course.
See, I'm a simple guy, as you can tell by my outfit.
Perfect.
But I do think wear some crazy designs.
Crazy designs. So we've got these. We've got graffiti, which are out right now. We've got these guys over here, the Amber Vittoria collection, which is pretty wild.
Oh, you're working with her again?
We are.
I have all of the first collection.
No way.
I think I have 3 of the 4 though, because I got holes in one of them.
Gotcha. Okay. We've got these are all mids.
Yeah, she makes good stuff.
She really does. We've got these. We've got.
I like these.
Okay.
I'm gonna do these.
Perfect. Awesome.
Shout out Amber. You make good socks and art.
Yeah.
But I only know your art in the context of socks.
Do you want any ones with? I don't know if you're a fire sock guy.
Not a fire sock.
Okay, fair enough. That collection's coming next.
Way after. You know what? Fuck it. I know you said 5, but we're doing 6.
Let's go.
This is my sock haul.
Let's go. Well, Tom, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoy the socks.
I will.
Awesome.